Welcome back, AP. To say that I am excited about y'all's group is putting it lightly. And yes, I know some of you are like, why is he sitting in that really big chair? His chair is made out of wood. It looks uncomfortable. There are kids in my room right now, so I had to find somewhere to go flip. So I'm actually in the conference room. But anyway, not like that really matters, or if you actually cared, I'm sure Emily O'Donnell rolled her eyes super hard when I brought that up. But it's all good because, you know, Emily O'Donnell does her thing. So anyway, now, and I mean that as a compliment. Anyway, but we're going to get after where we stopped, talking about the liberal arts, liberal studies. We're talking about Petrarch, the idea of writing clearly, arguing effectively, speaking persuasively, bringing back the ideas of grammar, using Latin and Greek in education, educating, unfortunately, all young men at the time, and then also pushing for the idea of a well-rounded education, like including math, social sciences, I guess, what else could we consider? Art in general, art criticism, tons and tons of different stuff, right? Petrarch is mainly known for his adaptation of humanistic style education, right? And also coining the term Dark Ages, of course. But he called them the Dark Ages for the longest time because mainly like the lack of intellectual expanse, ideas, and we'll say the very thin amount of education. It's not very viscous, if you understand what I'm getting at. Now, these next guys that we're going to talk about are kind of like, they're important, but they're like your JV humanists, all right? Y'all can put like something next to it if you want to. They're like your, like JV might even be a little too aggressive, like B-line, second line humanist guys, all right? Because they each had like a certain phylum, whereas Dante and Petrarch blew the doors off humanism. These guys kind of came and followed in after them. They just weren't as groundbreaking. They serve as good examples of stuff, all right? So first of all, the first one is Boccaccio, right? He wrote this book called the Decameron, right? And he's really, really important because, oh, by the way, if you ever see a picture or a woodcut, which is like what this is, when they have laurel wreaths around them, they're an honored figure, and it's a sign of like holy, almost intelligence. And which is also very humanistic to have laurel wreaths instead of halos due to the fact that it's bringing back what again? Very nice job, Jules Baer, good stuff. The ancient Greek and ancient Roman ideas, right? And who are our antiquity people again? Boom! Very nice job, Jill Kenny. I like it. That was Plato, Aristotle, Cicero. Very important guys to remember. And also make sure you have a firm understanding of the difference between rationalism and empiricism. Very, very important, okay? So, but he's an Italian historian who wrote the Decameron. His is one of the very first accounts of history told from the humanistic perspective. The lives that people are experiencing, right? Because his is like the Italian, some people call it the Italian Canterbury Tales, right? We talked about Chaucer briefly today, right? So he has a series of shorter stories of men and women trying to survive the plague in Florence. It's a very cool read, and it's not that long. If you find a very solid English translated version, it's like a good thing to read on a plane ride, all right? So very, very neat, super descriptive, some very horrid stuff in there too, by the way, but it's very good if you ever get bored and want to check it out, all right? So now, he also, though, wrote on famous women. He's one of the first early historians, or early humanists that believes that you need to incorporate important women, right? So, and he wrote on people like Christine de Pizan, Isabella d'Este, like a lot of other important female figures that we'll actually talk about both those women at one point. And then you have Leonardo Bruni, right? So we talked about how Dante brings back vernacularism. And then we talked about how Petrarch brings back well-rounded education, the study of the ancients, right? The humanistic ideas of his ascent of the mountain, right? But now we got to talk about these JV humanists in a way, how they're taking these old school ideas from Cicero, Plato, Aristotle, bringing them back into the forefront. And this guy, Leonardo Bruni, is the one that handled Cicero, right? So he used the Cicero ideas of the decline of Rome and the decline of Latin following the death of Cicero, right? He believes that when Cicero died and his republic ideas died with him, and then the empire came in, he's the one that believed that, okay, how am I trying to say this? Okay, so to give you a heads up, Cicero was alive during the time of Caesar. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who never had me in class, some of you know this, some of you do not, that's fine. Julius Caesar was not the first emperor of Rome. He was the first dictator to never relinquish power, right? And he brought in this idea of almost a military state. His grandnephew, Octavian, renamed what? Anybody know? Good job, Lucas Ravana. Very nice. Augustus, right? Renamed Augustus as an honorable to mean respected one. Ushered in the Pax Romana as the first emperate or empire, right? He was the very first emperor or prime citizen, as like coined by the Senate in Rome. But Cicero linked the decline of Rome, and he was like, we are going to be destroyed, and if we do not go back to the Republic. Leonardo Bruni is the one who translated those works and used them to try and show that Cicero was right. He believed that Cicero was correct, and he also then took history and divided it up into the three main parts that we use now, right? You got ancient, you got medieval, you got modern. It's how every historian actually documents history in Europe especially. You got ancient, medieval, modern, right? You go Greeks, Romans, fall of Rome, Middle Ages up to 1450, boom, modern history kind of is ushered in with the rise of humanism, even though ironically enough, trying to find the start of the Renaissance is a pretty difficult one. All right, anyway, now, then you got Marcy Leo Pacino. Pacino is very, very important because he actually is a Florentine humanist that brings back the ideas paid for by the Medicis, sponsored by the Medicis. I don't know if any of y'all ever watched PBS back in the day, but like, brought to you by viewers like you, right? Marcy Leo Pacino brought Plato to viewers like you, all right? So he tries to revive Plato's Academy, the fundamental ideas of using the text that Plato issued, the Republic, the allegory of the cave, his ideas on rationalism, and then integrate them into a full-fledged ancient Greek-style education system, right? And he also translated a lot of his works into Latin, right? He actually took Plato's works, translated them into Latin, and then also Italian vernacular language as well. Now, really cool thing about rationalism and Ficino also then kind of tutored a little bit a very, very famous artist, Michelangelo, right? They both lived in the Medici home when Lorenzo was actually in charge of them. Not Cosimo the Great, the elder, that's the guy who kind of started the Medici family. Lorenzo Il Magnifico is the guy that he allowed to live. He allowed this guy and Michelangelo to live in his home at the same time. And he actually also came in and synthesized Plato's works with Christian theology. He actually used Plato to try and reinforce the ideas of Christianity. It's a very, very cool premise, right? He also emphasized the ideal over the real, and he gave light to and popularized the allegory of the cave and the theory of forms. And if you've had Mr. Buchanan, you know what the theory of forms is, right? The ideal universe, the physical universe, the cookie cutter of everything, the perfect symbol of everything, and then everything on this realm is that hot garbage, right? So very, very cool. We'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow too. Then you have Miran Dola. Miran Dola is really, really cool. We have two more guys to go over, and then we're done. All right, so Miran Dola is a little bit of I would say he's a very underrated. He's like your starting JV humanist, right? He's a Renaissance, wow, I forgot the ER on there, philosopher, right? He's the first one to kind of derivate from Christian theology in the forms of philosophy. He was the writer of this thing called the Oration on the Dignity of Man, which became like the handbook for being a Renaissance human, right? For being a Renaissance man, anyway, in the way that you think. The idea of individualism and self-discovery is very important. And then he also wrote a thing called the 900 Theses, which actually was supposed to be an introduction to his Oration of the Dignity of Man. But 900 Theses was the very first book ever banned and burned by the church, because he actually brought in the ideas. I need you to write this down because we'll bring it up later on. It's called esotericism, all right? I'm going to spell it slowly. I saw some of y'all get a little about that. E-S-O-T-E-R-I-C-I-S-M. Esotericism is the idea that faith is not as clean-cut as you think it is. It brings in the idea of Egyptian mysticism, Jewish mysticism, magic, the idea is that we don't know anything about religion for sure, and it's an inward journey, and we need to bring in all of the intelligence of every religion and then merge them together. And then the universe will show us what the true ideas are. And that's why I have Mary, Mother of God, grilled cheese. All right, he would be a big fan of this thing. Have any of you ever seen this? This is the grilled cheese sandwich that's sold on eBay for like $20,000 or something like that. I don't know the prices specifically, because you can see Mary's image in it, and the lady freaked out. She's like, "Oh my God, God's trying to talk to me." Miran Dola would say, like, yeah, like the universe is trying to talk to you. I am a big fan of this Mary Mother of God grilled cheese, right? The holy cheese, if we like, we'll call it that. But he would actually, that's kind of esoteric in a way, right? This mystical ideas of everything, right? So he was very looked down upon by the church, though, because of this. Like I said, very first one to ever be like burned and have his books banned. Now, Leon Battista Alberti is another very important one. Also another cohort and contemporary of Michelangelo. They actually worked very closely together and knew each other very, very well. He's kind of, I really, really love his work, and if you want to give him a little descriptor, his ideas are like, he is the premier, I have it right here. He's the premier Renaissance man example. Whenever you hear somebody called a Renaissance man, it's because they are good at tons of stuff. He is the epitome of individualism. What can I accomplish? What can I do? I don't know enough. I want to know as much as I possibly can before I die. He was very Socratic about it in a way, like as in Socrates, so much so that he was like, I'm going to die one day, and I want to know as much as I possibly can. And he just went for it, right? He was a philosopher, mathematician, artist, author, architect, an amazing one at that, poet, priest, linguist. Very cool as well. He was a cryptographer. He wrote everything in ciphers and in codes. Some of his works we still can't translate, even though he's like a huge jerk about some stuff. And we'll talk about that in a little bit when it comes to his views on women. And I know that some of you are going to try and make a joke and you're going to make me mad, but we'll see. This is actually the cathedral in Siena that he designed. And it's amazing because certain small details of it are like repeating geometric patterns, and he was the first one to take almost Muslim-style architecture and then merge it together with this new Italian style that was actually growing. He's just like, some of the buildings he designed are absolutely amazing. Like, this is one of my favorite buildings. I've seen it in Italy. It is absolutely gorgeous. So if you ever get a chance, you should definitely go. The fresco on the ceiling of this one's nuts, too. It's in the library in the back. So anyway, that's where we're going to stop. We're talking about our JV early humanists, right? And but yeah, so we'll get back into it tomorrow. We'll review a little bit again, and then we'll jump and dive into it. And then we're going to break humanism up into its different categories, and we're going to get after it, all right? But it was great to see you guys again. I'm so excited about this group. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great evening.